Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker writing his take in the New York Times, "Don't bail out the states." And he joins us now. Governor Walker, thank you for joining us. I mean, this has required an enormous cost for the states in a public health response, and not to mention the economic slowdown is depriving them of key tax revenue. Why do you say we shouldn't bail them out?
Well, first and foremost, I think the important thing you just alluded to, and that is with over 40 million people filing unemployment claims, we need to focus on helping workers first. Most states across America have huge backlogs out there, and I believe the states, more than asking for money from the federal government, should be taking state employees who are collecting paychecks right now, sitting idly at home, and reassign them, send them out. They can do it right from home, send them off to doing unemployment claims. They can make that change. They can put people back to work. That should be priority number one. But then a couple other quick points. Along with that, a second point is that federal money isn't likely to be around far into the future. We saw that after the last recession, when literally tens of millions of so-called stimulus dollars were sent to state and local governments. That money evaporated over time, and people like me and others who came in 2011 were facing big holes in part because of the federal money being backed away. What we did in Wisconsin was enact real reforms. We didn't just cut things. We didn't just raise taxes. Instead, we chose a different route and reformed our state government. We need to make sure that other states are doing that. Illinois, for example, hasn't pushed any real reform in decades. We shouldn't have to bail out taxpayers in Wisconsin or other states who've been frugal. Shouldn't have to bail out failed states like Illinois where they haven't taken that action. And finally, the federal government just doesn't have money either. $25 trillion in debt. Within the decade, they're going to have a federal debt to GDP ratio that's as high or higher than it was in World War II. There are really big reasons why we shouldn't be bailing out failed state governments.
So Governor, the reforms that you passed, as you said, when you came in, and you go into more detail about those in your op-ed, would you have not bothered passing them if you hadn't been under more financial difficulties? Would you have just ignored those would-be reforms that you kind of pat yourself on the back for now?
Well, I certainly would push them, having experienced them as a local official before that, but I think it would have been incredibly difficult to get lawmakers in both of our chambers to act on some of these really big and bold reforms, particularly considering the backlash that we got from protesters at the time. In retrospect, we're now one of the best positioned states in the nation because of those reforms that have saved local and state taxpayers more than $12 billion in the years since. And unlike Illinois, for example, where they don't even have half of their pension liability covered, Wisconsin's #1 in the nation, fully funds their pension system. We have a system where the rainy day fund is 190 times bigger than it was when we first took office. And we've had state surpluses in all the years I was in office. That put us in big position because of the reforms.
We're in a crisis. I mean, the U.S. government hasn't exactly been responsible. And the U.S. Wait, hold on. The U.S. government borrows. I mean, we have deficits and we have debt when we need stimulus and relief, which is what we saw in response to this pandemic. The states can't do that. You know that. And you said it's about workers. What about all the workers that are paid by state governments? Should they not get relief as well and not get paid, especially some of those essential ones like police force and teachers and nurses at the VA?
Absolutely. They should be
the list goes on and on. You know this well.
They should absolutely be the first ones to be paid, and they can do that if they use some of the reforms that we've done before. In the bill, the liberal wish list, I call it the Zeros Act that Nancy Pelosi put out, which is just taking everything on the left they've ever wished for and adding zeros to it. Only $75 billion of the $3 trillion in that was for direct payments to the states for things related to the testing and some of the other things they've done in terms of contact tracing. Pay for that. Pay for the things that actually involve health care. But don't bail out the state of Illinois, the state of California, the state of New York, other states who have had problems making real meaningful reforms for decades. That's not what the American taxpayers should be doing. We should be making sure that workers get the assistance that they need. And the best way to do that is to encourage states who have been lax on reforms to actually put in place real reforms. Pay for what's needed to cover COVID-19. but don't pay for junkets to pay for governments at both the state and the local level who haven't lived up to the responsibility of leading.
We could have this debate for a lot longer, Governor Walker, but unfortunately we're out of time. We had a lot of breaking news, including the president this hour. Thank you for joining us. We will continue the conversation. Scott Walker.